welcome back everybody. Today I thought I'd talk a little bit about Linq and Lambda expressions and places where you might want to use those. If you're familiar with SQL, you're kind of used to writing queries as follows. You're going to select basically everything right here, from some sort of database where certain conditions are true, where X or whatever. So that's kind of, a SQL statement, kind of crude, but anyway, that's similar to Linq, except for SQL you're running against a database. Linq you can run against a database, you can run it against a collection, such as like just a string array. Basically there's lots of places you can use Linq, not only just against a database. So today we're going to actually use Linq with a collection.
I don't even think I got it all.
Okay, so basically we're going to be iterating over, or we're going to have a string collection. Going to use Linq in order to query this collection and be able to pull things out of it. So we can kind of think of this collection right here of people, this string array, as a database, which is kind of cool because the same logic that we use to query this is the exact same logic that we can use to query a database. And maybe in one of the later episodes I'll show you just that, querying a database and setting one up and everything. Just make one more name here, and I'll show you what's going on. Okay. Alright, so there's our array of people. We haven't really talked about this, but there's a new keyword called var, which basically is an inferred type. So it figures out what's on the right-hand side of the equals sign, and it figures out what kind of type that is going to return, and it sets this it sets the left-hand side variable or type to whatever's on the right-hand side. So right now it can't figure out what var is, so when we hover over var it has no idea what it is. So it's kind of just a shorthand way of saying, hey, this is going to be some sort of variable. And generally with Linq you see that. You could actually write the entire type out. It's of type iQueryable, or I enumerable, and then, but it's a lot of times with Linq you just see people just say var. So the way you do it is it's similar to SQL, but it's slightly different. You basically write it like so. So from P and people. So P is basically this variable that we're going to be using throughout this query, that we're just kind of creating on the fly. People is, so what goes in this area is basically a collection, and people is a collection of strings. So from P and people, where p.length is greater than 3, and then you do select P. Okay, so Linq is actually really powerful because it lets you query these collections, it lets you query databases with the exact same syntax. We don't have to change the syntax at all, and we can query a database. So plus there's lots and lots of different keywords. You can use order bys and all sorts of things. I'll throw one of those in a second, but there's a whole plethora of different keywords that you can stick in here. You got sort and ascending, sort, ascending, order by, unions, joins, pretty much any sort of thing that you would see in SQL, you're going to see in Linq as well for working with the collection. And so basically this is going to return all the people that have names longer than 3 letters. And we can actually just So basically those get returned into this variable right here, and we can iterate over that. Just a simple for each statement, we can iterate over that collection and then just write out what P is. So we'll do that real quick. Let me pull up this here and I'll show you. Whoops, actually we put the wrong variable in here. We need to be iterating over peeps, because people is just the original array, so we need to iterate over peeps, because that's the one, that's basically after it's been filtered by these rules, it gets returned to there. So let's go ahead and run that again. As we can see down here, Larry, Anderson, and Barley. So all those names are greater than length of 3, but it sticks them in the same order that they came in there. So Larry's first, Anderson, Barley. So if we just wanted to have those ordered, all we'd have to simply do, let me shut this back off again so it's stopped. All we'd have to do is say, we could use a keyword order by. In fact, there's a whole bunch of them that we have access to. Pretty much anything that you see inside of this little symbol here is part of Linq, like this on statement right here. That's one that I don't know if I've used before. Let is another one. I don't know if I've used that one either. There's a whole bunch of them that you can use. They would show with this little icon right here where it looks like there's a bunch of paragraph of words. So we're gonna, where length is greater than 3, order by P. So this is going to order it, and if you don't mention ascending or descending, then I think it defaults to ascending. So it's going to order it by just the letter, I do believe. Let's verify that here real quick. We'll run this again. Sure enough, it came back sorting them by the letter, just like you would normally order things. Anderson, Barley, Larry. So it's really quick to be able to order something. If you did this without Linq, it would of course take quite a bit more lines of code, and it would be a lot harder to read. This is very simple syntax to read. So this is Linq right here. This is called, let me verify, but I think that's called fluent syntax, and there's another type of syntax, but give me 1 second. Okay, I've just confirmed that this is query syntax, and I guess the way that you can think of it that way is it's similar to like a SQL query. Let me just write that in there real quick. Query syntax. Oops. And there's another type of syntax that you can use called fluent syntax. And this looks like method chaining. It's basically what this ends up looking like. And so we'll write out the same exact query that we did up there, but how we would do it with fluent syntax. And this might be more familiar with you if you're used to chaining methods together. So people, where, and then right here I'm going to show you a little bit of Lambda expressions. Lambda expressions basically just take a delegate instance and apply that to this situation right here. Basically what it's wanting is it's wanting a function that takes a string and returns a Boolean. Okay? So you can see this is highlighting right here what it wants. So the shorthand way to do it is to use Lambda expressions, and in a future lesson I'll explain, just go into Lambda expressions. I might even actually do a little bit of that here, but basically where P goes to, that's what this little thing is pronounced goes to. So you can think of this as the input parameter. We're going to take some sort of input in, And that's going to be basically, as we're looping through this people collection, we're going to be looking at specific people, which are strings, because this is a string collection. We're going to be taking one of those in here, which is a string, so I just do p for people, where p dot length is greater than 3. That's what our condition was up here, but we're just doing this with fluent syntax. And order by p. And then that's all you need to do. So if we change this to the number 2 part, we'll just leave this one in here, not use it. We'll see that we get the exact same thing. Move the screen down, you can see that Anderson, Barley, and Larry, in that order, they've been ordered and everything, and this is using peeps2 variable, which is right here. Fluent syntax, the same as the query syntax. It might just be, in some situations you might want to use one over the other. I can't think of anything offhand why you necessarily would need to, but I know that it does come up from time to time where you might need to use one over the other. So that is Linq in a nutshell there. One little thing on these function pieces right here, and even up in here, these can be replaced with an actual method, because basically what they're doing here is you're basically just you're creating an inline method really quickly. So the method wanted, if we hover over this where, this method that it wants is a method that takes in a string and returns a boolean. If you can look over to the right, you'll see func angle bracket string comma boolean close bracket close angle. And that is basically this where that's getting executed. So this where is going to be passing in a string, and we need to pass out a boolean. So we could do the same sort of thing. So we're going to exit with a boolean, and we'll just call this test length. And we need to bring in a string. So it's either going to return true or false. So if p.length is greater than 3, then the test will pass, and we need to return true. Otherwise, we need to return false. So that's quite a bit more writing, as you can see. It's writing an entire function here for what this lambda expression allows you to do right there in just that one little line. But as we can see, you can pass in test length, basically this test case right here, and as long as it fits with that method signature that you have up there, you could pass any method to it and it will go ahead and do it. So this is a small case where, you know, doing inline code is really quick and takes care of it. But if you needed to do a whole bunch of other stuff, like maybe test against this and that and go to the database or whatever, just do a whole bunch of other things, you might want to actually write a method out and just pass it off to the method. The main thing to remember is that the method signature needs to fit what it is showing on the on this hover over right here, or this where clause. This one is a string comma bool, so it accepts a string, returns a bool. Accepts a string, returns a bool. This one over here is just a string comma string. So it would accept. So it would take any method that would accept a string and return a string. Okay, so that's a reason why you might want to use lambda expressions versus writing the whole